r/Askreddit by Reddit and chill. What's the dumbest thing you ever got in trouble for at school? I've got two things. I sang happy birthday with a whole bunch of my friends to someone at lunch and we were to split up because it was inappropriate. Someone kicked my chair and I fell and I got a detention while they didn't get anything. That second one, ducking, speaks to me. In second grade I had a bully take a chunk of concrete and bust my knee wide open with it. I went to the ER and he got off scot-free. I got yelled at for blowing my nose for too long. I got kicked out of math class for hiccuping. Not because it was disturbing anyone, but because the teacher said I was faking it for attention. I used to get hiccups a lot when I was a teenager and most of the people in my class didn't even notice when it happened anymore. It was uncomfortable and embarrassing, but didn't really distract anyone for more than 30 seconds. Not quite school, but a school function. I almost got kicked out of prom for being drunk. Simply because I didn't want to dance. I was sitting at the table watching everyone else's stuff and 3 staff members dragged me outside to ask me how much I had to drink that day. Meanwhile there's girls who obviously had been drinking on the dance floor not being bothered. You'd think that people who are drunk rather dance. In the same year I learned to write. I got in trouble for showing my teacher I could write upside down while not looking. I was super proud of it for some reason. But I guess I was not taking my writing seriously. Leonardo da Vinci would like to have a word with you. My dad had a "you can't stay home sick from school unless you're extremely sick" mainly because he worked from home and didn't like being bothered. So unless I had a fever of over 103 and or was throwing up, my ass went to school. And to be honest, until I got my driver's license I had nothing to do otherwise. So I had very little reason to skip. So one day my freshman year in high school, I'm sick. I can't eat because I'm queasy. But I haven't thrown up at all. And I didn't have a fever. So off to school I go. I get to 3rd class and I realize that I'm going to toss my cookies. I'm in the middle of science class and we're supposed to be doing some quiet activity sheet. So I raise my hand to ask to use the bathroom. The teacher is a hardest and says that I should have gone during break between class. I said to her, "No really, I'm about to vomit." She infers that I'm lying and that I need to get back to work on my sheet. So I walked up to her, handed her the completed activity sheet, and threw up on her lap. She calls security and tells them I intentionally assaulted her with vomit. I was suspended for 2 days and my parents had to threaten legal action against the school district to get the suspension reversed. Turns out I had the norovirus. Assaulted with throw up. One time in primary school, I went into school with a weird pain in my side. It felt like a muscle stitch. So I didn't think much of it, assuming it would get better after a few minutes or so. Flash forward about an hour, and we're all sat in assembly. I'm almost doubled over in pain cause it hurts to breathe. And some kid next to me keeps talking to me. As I try and tell him to stop, I get singled out by the teacher for disturbing the assembly and so I have to stand up, almost in tears from the pain, and walk out of the assembly to sit outside while everyone watches. Flash forward about another 30 minutes and I'm lying on the floor of the headmistress's office, waiting for an ambulance to come and pick me up so I can be taken to hospital and later diagnosed with swine flu. I had that shit in college. I was in bed for 11 days and lost 25 pounds. I had it over Thanksgiving break too. Ducking sucked. I got well enough just in time to start studying for finals after break. In primary school we weren't allowed to talk during lunch. Go ducking, figure why, but people who did had to go stand in the corner until the others were finished. I had to go too. In middle school we got yelled at if we got too loud in the cafeteria. There's like 1,000 people in the room. How the hell can you police that? Was sick and asked to go to the bathroom. Teacher Beach said no. I vomited in her trash can. She tried to get me expelled. I can still hear my dad laughing in the principal's office. Funny. I had a teacher tell us, if we had to, don't even ask and just pick up a trash can and try to puke in the hallway. Back when I was in HS, my school banned salt. So I literally had to smuggle salt to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Kids were also selling it. It was ridiculous. I never got in trouble, but others did. I went to boarding school for your information. Illegal salt deals happening under the stairs. Got a week's worth of detention once because someone spread a rumor that another girl and I were having sex in the bathroom between classes. A teacher whose class I'd supposedly left backed me up that I hadn't left class while I was supposedly getting it on. As far as anyone knew, I was straight. I didn't really know the girl I'd allegedly hooked up with. What I actually got detention for was telling the principal that I didn't think it was any of his ducking business when he started asking about my sexual history. Well, that's none of your goddamn business. Now is it? My mate was meant to get into trouble over something I did. I told the teacher I did it. She extended his for some reason. I never got one for it. Could you explain what happened? I was in pre-K and my teacher took our class to the bathroom. It's important to note that every door looked exactly the same and I was 3 or 4. I was getting some water and when I looked up, my entire class had just walked off without me. So I toddled down the hall and opened the door I thought was my class. Spoiler. It wasn't. The teacher of that class gave me back to my teacher and I got put in timeout. Yes. I got put in timeout because my teacher left me at the bathroom. Totally your teacher's fault for not doing a head count before walking back. That's like the first rule for working in childcare. When I was like 6, there was a broken gutter on the playground leaking rainwater and my friend and I thought we looked cool with damp brushed back hair and absolutely soaked our heads under it. We got yelled at cause we'll catch a cold, but they made us go stand at the wall still outside for the rest of lunch. Yak now. Instead of sending us to dry our hair. This admin was threatening to call my mom because I was standing out in the rain. Just enjoying the feeling. She said she was good friends with my mom and had her on speed dial. This was at school. My mom is a teacher at another school and likely would not have been able to answer. It was supposedly because I'd be cold when I got back inside. But I knew that was the consequence and I was willing to deal with it. I just like rain. Lem enjoy life. I got yelled at for not saying good morning back to another teacher. Ugh, these power tripping a-hole teachers. I had one of those as the guidance counselor. He did duck all except sign off on class schedules. Well, my dad died when I was a sophomore. And he decided that I was too grouchy for him to allow me to have the classes I wanted unless I smiled at him every time I saw him in the hallway. Grieving wasn't an excuse to be disrespectful. Apparently. Even though some of the times he claimed I ignored him were ones where my head was down and I was crying quietly and not looking at anyone. We were reading a Shakespeare play in HS English at a private school. The teacher asked if anyone knew what a line meant. Where a character is talking about a pen as if it were a penis. When she asked, whole class said penis and I said wang. I got a detention for using inappropriate language. Because I didn't use the clinical term. Wang. Pay attention. Sorry sir. I was looking out the window at a long, smooth thing that looks like a giant. We had to sculpt a clay bust, then glaze and fire it. I made mine a black man. I had to go explain to the principal why I made mine black and a letter went home. I'm white. No black kids went to the school. This was 5th grade. I have no idea why it was an issue and neither did my family. I was a kid of divorce. Spent summers dad in a big city. Came back to the rural south for school. One fall. I returned with an earring. Early 80s. So a white boy with a pierced ear was unknown? Anyway. I was called to the principal's office and grilled over the meaning of an earring. Some suspected the gay agenda. Others believed it was gang affiliation. I was like, it's jewelry. I started school left-handed. That was bad. I felt like the worst person in the world all through kindergarten and 1st grade because I kept messing up using my left hand to write, eat, act. I had in recess detention at least twice a week for it. This was also back in the late 80s when it was acceptable for teachers to hit children. Duck you Ms. D. I hope the devil diddles you daily with his left hand covered in barbed wire when you're rotting in hell. One time I got sent to the nurse for farting twice in math class. This was in 7th grade. What was the nurse supposed to do about it? In 2nd grade I got yelled at by my teacher for helping a kid who didn't understand the lesson after he was done speaking. The kid had already asked for help and he ignored him and I was already done, so I decided to help him, then got punished and yelled at for doing so. Go back to your seat, I'm sorry but I'm too busy trying to do your job lol. In 4th grade I went to go pee. There were 2 or 3, I don't exactly remember, other girls in there being complete idiots. They were yelling and being obnoxious. They were by the sinks. All I wanted to do was wash my hands. But then the teacher sent another girl down to see where they were. Since they had been gone for a long time, we all got sent to the principal even though I wasn't even doing anything. It was my first time being sent to the principal, so I thought I was gonna die. Plagiarism. I didn't use the correct MLA format 2 years before we learned about it, and was chewed out as if I had claimed I wrote the Magna Carta. Fighting. A tiny kid tried to punch me, and I held him at arm's length by the shoulder like a cartoon so he couldn't connect. In front of everybody. I've told this story before, but a friend of mine got yelled at for missing class to get scheduled chemo treatments. He died a few months later. I swear MLA is just a way to knock points off a paper. I have never ever seen anyone do it correctly. I got a letter sent home and yelled at and humiliated in front of the entire class because I climbed on top of a pile of snow. Whoa there. Slow your roll Evel Neville. I got written up for putting my bookmark between my glasses and my face during silent reading time. In 3rd grade. I was a mouthy little shit at school. But I also had some a-hole teachers. One would often start his classes off with stories about his day-to-day life. Normally pretty chauvinistic in nature. One fateful day he started with the words "so. On the way to work I passed a really ugly woman." To which I chipped in, "Was it your wife, sir?" The teacher flipped, screamed at me to leave his classroom, and threatened a world of pain if we crossed paths again during that week. I went to the library for an hour and kept my head down for a fortnight. Just to be sure. I can see your joke being disrespectful in any other scenario, but the teacher literally started off his statum joke by insulting someone just as you did. That's called being a hypocrite. Chances are likely that you've never even seen his wife. So he should have been able to come to the conclusion that it was no more than a humorous jab. If I was the teacher, as long as you weren't constantly interrupting the joke, I would have had a quick chuckle, try to come up with a sly but appropriate jab back, and proceeded with what I was saying. I was in 4th grade and a big crack of lighting came down right outside the window and I screamed. Like really screamed. I got sent to the principal because apparently that wasn't a mature reaction and got detention. So, what's the mature reaction to sudden primal fear? Should have flipped the desk instead. Classmate tickled me for a few seconds and I fell off the chair pretty badly. But I made a huge noise by falling and my teacher didn't like that. So she wrote the note to my parents about how much I was inappropriate during class. Apologize for any mistakes. Apologize for any mistakes. I'm not sure if you're apologizing for your own mistakes or teaching me about humility. I dropped a pencil during a test. Teacher got mad when I picked it up, it being within my reach, and I was suspended for the day. When I was in grade 4 or 5, a few other girls and I'm a girl, played werewolves at recess. One of the girls put a death threat note in my locker, claiming to be one of the wolves. We had imaginary wolves in our wolf community and we had the wolves we played. The note had fake blood and everything. Detailed paragraphs of how the wolf was going to eat me and drink my blood. There were like 2 or 3 pages stapled together and cut out photos of black wolves that came out of my locker as I opened it. I showed my teacher and she thought it was me. The note was written on Word, with the chiller font, and I didn't even have a working printer. The word got around and my whole grade thought I did it to myself because I wanted people to feel sorry for me or give me attention. The principal had a long talk with me about lying and he eventually called my mom. She told him that I was a liar at home, like every 9-year-old was, and not to believe me. My other friends got notes too except one girl. But it was apparently still me that did it. For some reason. We didn't come to the realization that it was the girl who didn't get the note. Years later we did. Got a detention for putting my stuff in my locker. Teacher thought I entered the school early. But nope, my locker was literally right inside the front door so I could drop my stuff off as soon as I walked in. Pretty much everyone else's locker was past where she was standing as a hall monitor. Even when I showed her where my locker was. Still got the detention. Protested to the principal and was told to suck it up and serve the detention. Gave a lot fewer ducks after that day and got more detentions for other dumb shit. Wait. So what exactly did you get in trouble for? What was the broken rule? Ducking, like and subscribe.